Hello everyone, welcome to this YouTube channel, Akash Thing. Today we are going to continue our journey on the Docker learnings. And yeah, it's not a dependent lecture, so you can directly watch this video. It's more about the Docker volume explanation. However, so far I have covered the Docker basics, the some of the commands, and also we have developed like a reverse proxy kind of application using the Docker container. So yeah, if you are interested, you can go through those videos. But today we are going to focus on understanding what is Docker volume and how we can make data stay in the Docker volume for permanently, basically. So with that, let's get started. So why we are going to talk about this Docker volume? That's the important thing to understand. So what happens is like whenever we run a container using our image and we write something into the container or we store some tables or some records, and when we shut down the container, so we generally use this command to start the container and this command to bring down the container. So once the container is down or removed, then we see that the historical data that we created gets lost. So that's where this uh, thing, Docker volume, is coming into picture. So what it does is like it creates a volume and it attaches that volume. So volume is nothing but your kind of a directory or folder or something related to that, where like in our Windows machine or Mac machine we have that directory system, right, where we store our data and whenever we want we can go back and access it. But if something is there in the cache or in the RAM memory, so those things we are not able to retrieve, right, especially after the shutdown. So it's very important that we also store data whenever we are using containers. And here in this lecture especially we are going to use a MySQL. Uh, we are going to create a MySQL container using MySQL image, and we will try to mount this database into kind of you can say into this path. So this is what we are going to do today, and let's see how we can do that. So for this, I think we need to create a folder structure which through which I can demo this thing and you will be able to understand in a practical manner. So theoretically we understand why volume is needed, right? So now let's try to so what I have done here is I have taken a very simple example, if a shopkeeper wants to track his sales, so what he does, he try to insert like the date and the item that he sold and at what price, and that way he keeps storing those records. And at the end of the day or after a week, he can review those records. So a similar application I tried to develop using this HTML, and then we will try to host that using Docker, and we will use app.py file to implement all the Python related functionalities and also initiate and do the different functionalities with our database. And in the end, we also have this Docker YAML to kind of uh, manage the Docker file. One is for this application, Python application, and second Docker image will be the MySQL, uh, again, the image of MySQL. So it will try to manage this as well. So if you want, you can use any other database, not a problem. So whatever database is available on the Docker Hub, you can just use that image, maybe PostgreSQL, and you can try with that. If you face any issue, maybe you can comment in the video, and I will try to help. So with this, this is the simple folder structure that I have tried to use here so that it becomes easier to understand. Now, here I have mentioned what is the database that we are going to create, which is sales.db, and we will be storing the record in this, and where we will be hosting this. So on this port number, and similarly for uh, using Flask, we are trying. So here we are not using Fast API, which we have used earlier. So here we are trying to bring a new thing, Flask API, and Flask is like it also helps in hosting our website. So that's where I've used it here, and we are going to perform different operations related to database like create or read or update or delete the records in the database. So again, Flask app will be hosted on this 5000 port, and in there we have this Docker YAML to orchestrate or kind of connect all the containers that are running. So with that, let's go a little kind of wait. Let's see what is there in the next slide, and then we can decide. So yeah, here we are coming directly into Docker YAML. So it's better. Let's go through the code base. So let me just open the code. I have already created this code. Again, I have used AI to generate this code, but I've kept it really very simple. And anytime if you want to go through this code, I will try to load this code in the GitHub, and there is a README file as well, which is attached to this uh, code, and you can refer it at any time in future as well. So with that, let's go through the uh, application file. So app.py file. Here, let me just increase the font size so that you can also see it. Yeah. Yeah. So, how we define a Python application file? We start with importing the libraries. So since we are using Flask API here, so we are using like importing the Flask library, and especially the modules like Flask for hosting the application, and then render template. So it will try to render the HTML file and display it in a like beautiful way. And then request. So we are also going to route or accept the request from the internet. So for that we are using this, and JSONify is something like beautifying the content that we are going to send or display in the UI, something like that. So this is where we are using Flask, and then we are also having this MySQL connector because, as I already mentioned, we will be writing our records into MySQL. So we are using the connector modules of that. So it will help me in interacting with the MySQL database and manipulating it. OS again, you are familiar. So all the things related to environment variables. So we are going to use this. So especially for the database password or uh, database username. So storing those and retrieving those, we will be using OS. Time is nothing but any time delay or waiting we can calculate using this. Next, we have this app. So we are initiating the Flask app. So similar way we used to do it for Flask API. So it's almost similar. So this is something we do. And here our app is initiated. Now we are defining some of the functions related to database. So I will just go over all the functions that are here, and then we can go deeper in each one of them. So first we have a get db, which will try to fetch the information about the kind of environment variables or the uh, database related configs that we have already defined, like the username, password, database name, and the host, like where it is, kind of port number, and the you can see the link where we can access this database. Then second, we have init database. So this is trying to initiate the database and runs it on the container. We'll go through it. And then we have another is like home function. So this is again kind of API that we have defined, the home, which will try to render the home page. And then we have get sales data. So it will try to fetch all the records from the database and display it. And then we have this add sales. So this is something like a kind of a post uh, request we have implemented. So whatever the new records that the user is going to add through the UI, so those requests will be handled by this function. Again, the path will be API slash sales, which we will see when we will be implementing it. And then we have this delete cell. So if you want to delete the record, then we can like the Flask will try to navigate me to this particular function. And in the end, we are initiating everything. So yeah, let's go a little deep into each one of them. So getDB, you can see here, uh, it's using the connect functionality of MySQL connector and trying to build connection with my MySQL that is hosted already. So we are fetching the environment variables that are like host and user and password and DB name. So all these things we will be defining in our uh, I think Docker Compose because we are creating the image there only, so we don't have a separate Docker file for that. And then we have this initiate the database function. What it is trying to do is like it's trying to initiate the database and it is trying 15 different times. So you can see it's a for loop. And first it fetches all the information and it tries to uh, just use the cursor to like kind of execute the different functionality that this MySQL offers. And then it is executing these functions where it is trying to create a table, sales, and what all the different columns it will have, and kind of data type it is defining. So for sales date, it is defining data type as date, and it should not be null. So it has to be always like some value. Similarly, for product, we are defining it as var and this is like kind of data type that is there in SQL. So we have these kind of data types similar to what we have in Python. And again, this is defined as a not null. So most of all the values are here as not null. And this is one thing ID, which is a kind of auto increment. So it keeps on increasing whenever the new record will come, and it is used as a primary key. So primary key and second and foreign key is there, but primary key is mainly like this is unique and it will we must have this in this cells. So this is what it's trying to say. We can't have null value for this. Then once this executed, so basically the table will be created. So we'll commit that, and that's how like we say that okay, finally the table is created, and then we close the connection. So cursor.close is nothing, but we are closing the connection to the database, and then we are also closing the database. So with that, it will print like database initialized successfully and it will come out of the loop. But if in case it's not initialized, so this try will happen and if it does not initiate, then it will sleep for 2 seconds and then it will again try to run this complete loop. So it will try 15 times, and if it does not have a success, even after 15 trials, it will say that failed to connect to database. So this is the important signal. So once our database is connected, then only we will be able to execute the other functionalities, right? Now we have this HTML page. So index.html, which we can see right now here. So let me try to show it's in the templates. Uh, okay, let me see if I can. Yeah. So this is my HTML page. So this is what we are going to. Uh, this is from where we are going to pass the information, and using post method, it will try to retrieve and display it here on the live. Yeah. Coming back to the app.wi-fi. So once we just uh, execute the path, then it will render this particular HTML page. And then we have this functionality of get sales. So what it will do is like it will connect with the database, build a connection, and then it will run the cursor to like okay, here we are trying to create the cursor. Sorry. So similar to what we have done in this init database, we have initiated the cursor. So this is a different, like similar way, but we are also passing the argument that kind of dictionary format. You initiate the cursor, so it will return the values at dictionary. That's what it's trying to say. And then we will execute this. So execution is nothing, but we are fetching all the records. So select a star from the table name. This will fetch all the records from this sales table, and then it will be ordered or like sorted with respect to sales date. So you will see the sales date with the latest date on the top because order is descending. And then it will cursor.fetch all will nothing but it will fetch all the data and it will store in the sales variable, and then we'll close the cursor and we'll also close the database. So all the connections are closed. Now we freed the database kind of, you can say. And then here we are just doing a simple pre-processing because we are going to JSONify the complete record. So that's where we are converting the dates into strings, and then we are passing that sales as in JSONify. And it will return this record, and then the HTML will render it and present it in the tabular format. Now coming to the next function, add sales. So this is nothing but we are again like we will be getting the record from the user via the interface, and then we'll try to store that or insert that record inside the MySQL database. So here what is happening is like we are using a post method because we have already mentioned like there are two methods to request, one is get and one is post. So in the above method we have used get because we were not passing anything, so that's why we used get. But in this method we are passing, the user is passing the records to add, so that's where we have used post. And once that record is coming, so we can fetch that using request.getJSON, and that data will be here. Now again we will build the connection with the database, initiate the cursor, and here we have not used dictionary which we have used here because we are just reading the data, so that's not needed. And then we are running this cursor.execute. So here we are trying to run the command insert into sales. So basically it will insert the data into this sales table, and it is mentioning the values which needs to be passed. So here it has used up like percentages. So this is nothing but this is trying to fetch these values. And S represents a string. It can be F or D as well, I think, for float and integer kind of values. But most of it, all of it are in a string. So that's why it's trying to parse it as a string and store it. So this you can figure out from the schema that we have defined in this. So here you can see it's varchar and then decimal. So I think percentages should be in that case. I need to see. It may not be a string, but we can Google it. No problem. Okay, here it's saying a string and character, but yeah, I think it's able to parse it as a decimal as well. So uh, we can test and we can see how it's working at that time. So yeah, with that, I hope you understood the overall like thing that is happening here. Now it will commit and then cursor will again close, and database connection will be closed, and then we will again JSONify the object. So message and sales added, and this. So this particular message will be sent back. And this is like a kind of a code which we try to return to the like through the like server. So there are different codes like 200 404. So it 404 is like whenever the server fails and we don't get any response, or there is another code for access denied. So 200 is for successful like completion. So here it has mentioned 201 because it's a like a series of 200 only. But the thing that will be getting displayed is sales added only. Now coming to the next one. So yeah, delete. So it will try to again like the method here is used as delete, and it will try to do kind of first it will try to fetch all the first it will try to build a connection, then initiate the cursor, that is common task, and then it will execute this command that delete from cells. So everything that is there, all the records will be deleted, and then it will commit that also, that this deletion is like I am going to accept, and then it's going to close the cursor and like disconnect from the MySQL server, and then it will return a message that all sales deleted. So I think this is quite a straightforward concept, which I think you are able to understand. Now coming to the next, so here we are just initiating the server first. So you can see like the server initiation is checked because we can't proceed or we can't implement the other functionality. So that's where we need to check first whether my SQL is running or not, and the sales table is exist or like otherwise we should create it, because if the user is going to add new records, so it will fail. So that's where, and then we are running the complete app. So this app.py file using this. So we are passing host as 00 and port as this. So it's kind of a local host only. So what our system offers on that IP address, it will host that. And the port ID we have used here is 5000 because it's a Python application. So we prefer to use 5000 for that. And debug is true, it can be false, so it will help me, it will give me more message so that I can understand if there is any failure or some issue that is happening. So with that, I hope you understood the app.py file. Now let's go to the requirement file. So we are just using two different requirements. First is Flask and second is MySQL connector Python. So these are the only two packages we are using, and MySQL connector is like to connect to the SQL database. Now let's go to the Docker file. So uh, so far we have discussed about Docker. So I think you will be able to digest what is there every line. So first we are loading this image from the Docker Hub, and then we are creating a app directory. Then we are copying our requirement file to that app directory, and then we are installing all the requirements here. And we are using no caches so that our image stays small. And then we are copying the remaining files, and then we are executing our application. So Python and app.py using this command. So once this will be executed, then our container will be created, and the port or the link, we will be able to access it through there. So with that, I think we are able to understand all these files. Now let's go to the Docker file, which is the most important one. So in Docker file, again, we first start with services, and then we have two services. One is database service, and second is the Flask application we have. So app service. Now for database, since we don't have a Docker file, so we are defining here only that this is the image I am using. You can change the image again. You can look into the Docker Hub, and based on that, you can change this to anything. Maybe Postgres as well. And then you can set the password and the database name. So I'm setting this as the database name and this as the password. We are doing a port mapping. We are keeping the same value for container as well as local. So if you want, you can change it as well. We have shown that in our previous videos, and that is also that will not create any issue. And here you can see like I have mentioned the volume thing as well, but we want to be like we will be testing with and without volume so that we can understand the impact of volume actually. So this is nothing but we are creating volume for this DB, and we are giving it like the URL or the directory path where you can store the volume or the content that you will be creating, like database sales data. So this is our database where you need to store it. You need to store it at this place. Now, let's come to the app piece. So in app, we have mainly, we already have a Docker file. So we are doing nothing, but we are building that. So this is how we used to build like for front end, back end. So similar way, we are building this app. So dot slash app. Now, once it is built, we are hosting it to 5000 because we already saw like in the Docker file, it's exposed to 5000. So we are using the same here. And then we are defining the kind of DB host and root password and sales DB. So all these things we are defining. So if you look at the top, we also defined root password. And here also we are defining the root password. So why we are defining it two times? Just because this Docker container should also have these values set in their uh, container environment variable so that we can access it as and when needed. And here we also mentioned the dependencies. So this is important. Why we have mentioned? Because our UI will be reading and writing data into the MySQL database. So that's where this DB has to be there. So before running the app service, it has to completely start the DB service. And then at the last, we have this volume thing. So initially, we will not be attaching the volume thing. So we will comment it out and we will try to run. And then later on, we will uncomment it and we will again run with volume. So here you can see like without declaring this on high level, this volume thing, you can see the indentation. It's at the service level. So without declaring it, it will cause an error. So that's why like we need to declare the volume and what object we are trying to create. So the database name. So I think we have covered it completely. Let's just comment this for now. Fine. Now let's just check this content where we were we. So I hope you understood the Docker compose. Now let's move to the next. So yeah, we are going to run Docker without volume and see how it is working. And we'll see if the data is lost or not. So without further delay, let's open the Docker desktop because without that we won't be able to do anything. So here you can see I don't have any image and I don't have any container running. So what all things we need to do? First, we need to run the Docker compose file and then it will automatically run the container and create all the images, right? First, it will create all the image, then it will start all the containers. So let's just zoom it out. Yeah, let's expand it and now let's try to run Docker compose up. Now, if I give dash d, then it will run in the background, and if I don't give this dash d, then it will run in the foreground. So let's run without dash d and hit enter. You can see it started pulling MySQL image because it's not here. I don't have any image right now, so it will take some time and it will load the complete image around 253 MB. Then next it will try to uh, I think install all the libraries or it can pull the Python as well. So it has pulled Python and then it will create the image and then it has started creating the container. So you can see that container is created and you can see here it is mentioning that network volume default is also created. Now my container is running and I can access it from here and you can also check it here that we have two images MySQL and then we have Docker volume app. So basically the application that we built Python app.py. Now let's look at the container. So here you can see two internal containers inside Docker volume is running and we can access both of them from here. So let's try to access it. You can see the app is live. Now you can parallelly put this here. So you can see now just 200, 200 and 404 is there. And let's add some detail here. So on 8th, let's say uh, for let's say $30. So you can see the data got added here. So 200 success. It has hit the API. First it hit the post API and then second it hit the get API. And the link is address is same. So same thing you can see in the app file. Yeah, here is the API slash sales, and here we have API slash sales. Only the method is different: post, delete, and get. Got it? And we also learn to check it through the network. So here you can go in the network. I just hit like Control Shift I to open this, and now if I just refresh this, you can see right now the sales is here. This is the data that I have sent, and this is the link that I'm hitting. Now let's add one more record. On 9th, I sell a pen for $10. You can see again the data got added. You can see two records are here. Sorry, this one. Yeah, this is the Ramayana and this is the pen. Okay. So now we have two records. So now what we wanted to test is like let's close this container. So what we can do is like let's detach first. So hitting D, it got detached. Okay, sorry. In here. Yeah, yeah. So you can see the container uh, I'm running in the detached mode. Now I can bring down the container, docker compose down. You can see all the containers are gone. If I refresh this, you will see nothing is here. Okay. However, the image we created is still there because we have not specifically removed the image. Now, if we restart the container, let's run in dash t mode. You can see like since the image was there, it took hardly a second to like initiate the container. And now the containers are up. Let's recheck. So you can see the data is lost because we have not defined the volumes and we have kept it kind of commented in our code. So this is what we are seeing. Now let's try to define the volume and let's try to rerun this complete code. So for that, let's bring down the container again. Okay. Now let's uncomment the volume piece from the Docker YAML, Docker Compose YAML. So first we are uncommenting this. You can remember this path where live MySQL. This is where like we will check if we have the database or not. And then let's uncomment this as well. So yeah, now we will again hit this Docker Compose up. Okay. So here you can see this time volume Docker sales data created. Earlier it was just this. Okay. So let's try to check into the Docker. So here also you can see now let's check is there anything in the files in that folder where lib and MySQL. You can see the volume is created just now, 36 seconds ago. And you can see the sales data here, right? Sales TV. Earlier it was not there. So with that, let's try to now test it again. So let's add some details like 9, maybe pen for $12. Add some more detail. 10th book, $25. And 11th notes, $50. You can see all of these are here. Now, we can also verify that here also. So, if you go to this DV and in the EX, I think we need to run a command. So we can run this command here, MySQL -u root -p. Then it will ask for password. So I think the password was, we have defined it here in the docker-compose YAML. Just paste it. You can see now I am connected to the database. So let's see what all databases are here. You can see sales DB is here, right? The database that we defined. So let's use this sales DB. Okay. So now we have defined like which database we want to use. Now let's see the tables that are here in this. So this is the command we can run here. You can see sales table is there. Now let's see the records of this. Select star from sales. You can see all the three records here, right? So this way, like you can also confirm it from here. And you can also check the logs. And here in the volume, let's see, is there anything? So yeah, in the volume also you can check that this volume is created, right? And it will take me to the same path. So this container it is using. Yeah. So now let's try to test if it works or not. So first I'm detaching it. I'm waiting for it to respond. And then I will bring down the container. Yeah. So now you can see I stopped and removed the containers. You can't see anything. But in the volume, if you go, it's still there, right? That's the benefit you see here. So now let's try to bring it up again in the detach mode. And let's refresh it. So you can see I can still find those records. And also you can confirm it from here the way we have done right now. So here you can come and you can just paste the command. I think what was this? And then the password. Let me rerun this. And now let's use the database sales TV and select star from sales. You can see those records are still here. And same thing you can find in the files as well. So you can just go here in the uh, where leave and the MySQL. So here we can see our sales TV is still here. So yeah, I hope you understood this, that the data persisted, and this is what I was trying to demonstrate. So you can see the data got recovered since we stored it into this path. Again, this path is something that is configurable. So what it does at the backend is like it tried to create a first, like this Docker desktop is trying to create a kind of what you can say, the Linux machine at the backend using a very small image, and then it uses the storage of our machine only, but in that Linux environment, and it tries to store our data there. Again, there are different methods to mount the data that we can see. So let me bring down the container here. Now, if I just hit this, you will see the Docker volume will still stay there, which we have already seen, right? So the volume is still here. Now, if I want to remove the volume as well, there are a couple of commands. So either we can do this. Let me just do that. Don dash v, and let's see what is happening. So it will remove the network as well as the volume, this command. So let's check now. You can see the volume is gone. Now let's try to bring it up again. And this time we can use this command, the prune command. So this is here. You can see docker prune. So this will not remove the network, but it will remove the, I think, the volume. So let's see what happens. So it has removed all the volumes which I was having. So you can see all the unused volumes. So you saw like how it deleted all the remaining volumes. This is how like we can remove the volume and get rid of those spaces. So the image is still here, but yeah, we can remove those image as well. And then there is other command as well. So all these are representing those commands. And let's try to run this command as well, inspect the volume. So let's run it right now because the volume is still here. Let's see what it shows. Docker volume inspect. Okay. Yeah, it's showing that this is created at this time, 16:13 in this time zone. And then this is the labels, and this is sales data, and this is the place where it's staying. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, all these details are here, which we are still able to see because the volume is still here. And you can also check the logs at any time you want. Now let's stay on the content. So yeah, this is the output that we are also seeing. Next is like this is something that I wanted to cover as well. So what is happening here is, so we are trying to mount the volume, right? We have used that approach, but there are other approach as well. This is something that we have used. This is something we have not used, and this is something we have not used. So this tmpfs is nothing but it tries to store the, like, all these three methods are the way by which we can allocate volume into the container. But this one is most preferred, especially for the databases, because it's managed by Docker and the data persists even after deleting the container. And there is a separate path where it will stay and it's easier to implement as well. And this is persistent. While the bind mount is similar to how we have a file directory in our local machine, the D drive, E drive, like that. And we can create folders and we can keep uh, the files here. It's mainly useful when we are writing codes. So, like for example, on GitHub, we write code and post it on the GitHub, right? So, whenever a change is detected, then the image is built and like the things will get updated on the UI side as well, or whether whatever side. So, for that kind of thing, this bind mount is useful. And again, like persist, this also persisted after delete, just like GitHub. And then any host path it can be stored. And then this is kind of a manual because you are going to update it and also do some setup around that. And then there should be some configurations Now TMPS is more around like just now if I click window V, you can see these are there. So these are more on the RAM side, which is getting stored. So this is like not recommended if we want to use database kind of thing, because it will exhaust, like it will disappear once the Docker container is like deleted. So that's where memory does not persist. It's kind of a RAM based kind of a storage. And yeah, it's mainly preferred for secrets like API keys or something similar. So hope you got clarity about different volume methods and how it works. So same thing we have covered here. And then let's clean up our environment and let's see the volume that is there. So let's use these commands to check that. Docker volume ls. So we can see one volume is there. So how we can remove that? So we can use this command. Let's try to run this. You can see the volume is removed. So now if I run it again, I don't see any volume, and we can check it from here as well. There's no volume. So yeah, I think this was all I wanted to discuss. How this volume thing impacts the container, when this volume thing is useful, especially when we are trying to create database. So this is giving a very big advantage, especially when you are trying to host your own database. You are not dependent on anyone. So you can host any kind of database, be it SQL or be it Postgres or any other you can try it with. So that's the biggest advantage. And then we also learned about different types of volume. So that is also there, we can use as per the requirement, but mostly we are going to use this method only. And then we also gone through the sales record, how we update and we write and we delete, or we can do anything, right? So yeah, now if I refresh this, I don't think anything will come because container is stopped. So yeah, with that, thank you, and looking forward for the next video. So I will try to create more videos in our Docker. And yeah, thank you everyone. Add your comments in the comment box, and yeah, like, subscribe, and follow.